Welcome back to Let's Talk About Human Rights. I'm your host, Jules Allender, from the Youth for Human Rights California chapter, where we talk all things human rights and specifically the 30 human rights in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And in today's show, we're going to be specifically talking about human right number 30, which is no one can take away your human rights. And it states, nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. And we have a special guest today who's going to be talking to us about that specific human right and her work in it. But first, let's take a look at some international statistics that relates to this human right. Globally, 6% of women report they have been subjected to sexual violence from someone other than their husband or partner. Fewer than 40% of the women who experience violence seek help of any sort. In the majority of countries with available data on this issue, among women who do seek help, most look to family and friends, and very few look to formal institutions, such as police and health services. Fewer than 10% of those seeking help appeal to the police. 37% of women aged 15 to 49 living in countries classified by the Sustainable Development Goals as least developed have been subjected to physical and/or sexual intimate partner violence in their life. 22% of women living in least developed countries have been subjected to intimate partner violence in the last 12 months. Substantially higher than the world average of 13%. 13%, 20%, all percentages are extremely too high, especially when we're talking about partner and intimate violence with the person you are with. At least 155 countries have passed laws on domestic violence and 140 have laws on sexual harassment in the workplace. However, even when laws exist, this does not mean they are always compliant with international standards and recommendations, or that the laws are implemented and enforced. With that, we're going to go ahead and show the PSA number 30, no one can take away your human rights.
We're all born free and equal.
Don't discriminate.
These are your human rights. There are 30 of them. They belong to you. You don't have to buy them, or apply for them, or ask permission to have them. They're just yours. No matter who you are, where you're from, how old you are, or anything else. It's just that simple. Now, some people may try to ignore your rights, or violate them, or pretend they don't exist. But they can't change the fact that they're yours. Human right number 30. No one can take away your human rights. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
And before we get to our guest, let's look at some human rights good news. Growing up in the Central Valley of California, Faith Flores witnessed firsthand the difficulties agricultural industry workers face. Flores is a descendant of generation of farm workers, and her own family members had suffered from heat stroke while working fields. She saw a need to create a way to increase safety and education. Flores created CALR, an app to combat the rate of heat stroke among farm workers and to protect their rights and their safety through education. She conducted a pilot program during which 100 farm workers wore Apple Watches or Fitbits that sent notifications of immediate heat warnings, health tips, and proactive heat stress education. During that time, Apple featured her app in the App Store. Flores fundraised more than $60,000 for continued development of the app, and she was awarded a $10,000 grant. Fundraising will help defer costs of the watches. Flores also launched the Latina Legacy Foundation, a nonprofit tackling barriers in Latina-dominated industries including farm workers, housemaids, garment sweatshop workers, and domestic home care workers. And next is our segment, Youth in the News, and it's titled, Teen Helps Disadvantaged Children Play Sports. Competitive cheerleader Jakayla Atwaters of Boynton Beach, Florida, was practicing cheerleading routines at a park when she noticed some girls outside the gate watching. When Jakayla encouraged them to try cheering themselves, one of them responded, "My mom died and my sister is taking care of us. She doesn't have any extra money for me to cheer." Saddened by the story, Jakayla told her mom, and together they formed the Jump with Jakayla JWJ Foundation to provide children who normally couldn't afford it the opportunity to play sports. They created a website to encourage donations and to help kids and their families apply for sports vouchers. Jakayla also launched a social media campaign asking kids to create and photograph themselves with posters of their favorite sport. Very well done, Jakayla, and we need many more Jakaylas in the world. With that, I would like to introduce our very special guest today. She is the founder and director of She is Powerful, which is a Los Angeles-based nonprofit organization established in 2014, dedicated to providing a supportive environment for young girls survivors of sex abuse and sex trafficking. She is Powerful inspires young girls and women to regain control of their bodies, to overcome feelings of shame, anger, mistrust, and betrayal while reinforcing a new sense of pride in themselves. They do this through the healing power of dance. She is Powerful provides a support system by partnering with existing nonprofits and offering dance classes in various locations around the greater Los Angeles area and worldwide. Incredible. With that, I'd like to welcome our guest, Isabella, I'm going to mess up your last name again, Grosso?
Grosso, yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you, and I'm excited to get into and share your story and the work that you're doing because it is something I think a lot of women and girls would not have done with your story. So we'll just get right into it. So you are currently living and working in Los Angeles. Is this where you're from?
Yes, born and raised. I'm a Valley girl. I cannot get out of the Valley for some reason. I don't know if it's the heat that keeps me here, but yeah.
Nice. And just give us a little background on your family life, how you grew up.
So I grew up in the Valley. I have 3 older brothers. My parents, we lived in a small house in Van Nuys. A professional dancer. I've been dancing right when I came out of my mom's womb. I just loved music. My dad is a classical musician, and I definitely got the arts from him. So I was always dancing, always running around, my tippy toes, and I just love to perform. I love to choreograph, and I love taking class. It was something where I felt like, ooh, this is mine.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And you're still taking classes, is that correct?
Yeah, I still train all the time. I think as a professional dancer, you should always work on your craft no matter what, and it gives me so much joy. So
that's important.
Yeah.
Having an outlet that is pleasurable, that someone enjoys, is definitely important. So your organization, She is Powerful, obviously targets individuals, girls and women who have experienced some sort of sexual abuse or trafficking, right? And so you have a story, a personal story behind that, and what happened?
I was first sexually abused at the age of 5 years old.
Wow.
Throughout my whole childhood, through 7 different people. And when I told my dad, back then we didn't really talk about abuse. We didn't, or not me, but my parents did, how they were raised. So it was just something that they didn't talk about, that they didn't feel comfortable. So when I told my dad, he didn't really know what to do, but I saw this pain in his eyes when I told him, and I just told myself, I'm never going to say anything ever again. I'm just going to be, a good girl and just, move on from it. So the abuse continued through babysitters, family members, and what I learned is that when your parents don't do anything, when they don't stop it, it just continues to go on, because it's, you know, our little secret when we have with the abuser, and I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to hurt my dad's feelings, and I didn't want to hurt anybody else's feelings. So dance was the only time where I felt like myself. It was the time where I was like, this body is mine, it's nobody else's. When I hear the music play, when I'm with my dance teacher, I just knew this is something that made me feel safe and reminded me that this is my body and nobody else, and nobody can borrow it for this hour-long class. So,
wow, it's intense. I mean, 5 years old is not that at any point in time it's ever okay or that it's not traumatic, but 5 is young, and to even recognize that this is wrong, I don't think always occurs. I've talked to many people who've had sexual abuse at a young age, and sometimes it takes them through the years, oh, that actually was wrong, right? And so to have that immediate recognition, but then have that suppression of, I can't tell because I don't want to harm somebody I care about, it had to be just incredibly tough.
oh my, yeah, it was such a struggle throughout school, especially, you know, finding out who I felt comfortable with, like friends, and it was like a secret that I had. But when you store it in your body, it's just turmoil, and it's like, how do you fix that when you don't even know at that age that something's going on, because you think like, okay, it's normal, I guess. So it wasn't until early on in my 20s where I was like, wait, that was wrong, because we still didn't talk about it. And my parents separated when I was 12 years old, so of course my brother stayed with my dad and I went with my mom. So we moved to Orange County, and all my mom's family is there. And I kind of started hanging around more of her family, and I didn't have anybody to pick me up from school, so my cousin was the one that picked me up from school. She was older and she had 2 kids, and the grooming process started around 12 years old. And when I was 15, she told me that I was going to work in a strip club.
Your mother? Or
My cousin.
Okay.
My cousin. My mom had no idea. My mom was working. She was providing for me, and so she was never home. She was working around the clock because she was a single mom.
Right.
So my cousin started grooming me. I started hanging out with her a lot because she was showing me this affection that nobody else was showing me.
Right.
She was showing that she loved me and that she was there for me. She was the one that was picking me up in the morning, taking me to school. She was the one that was picking me up. And so I felt this support that I didn't feel from my parents, and I could talk to her openly about certain things that I was struggling with. She didn't know about the abuse, but I'm pretty sure she kind of knew about it, because a lot of predators will know their prey. So 15 years old, she takes me to my first strip club, and she told me when I'm 16 years old, I'm working the strip club for 2 years. My 16th birthday, I started working at a strip club.
Wow.
So I was a junior and senior in high school, and she would pick me up, drop me off, and I would give her all my money for 2 years. So aftercare is so important for kids that have been abused, and that was something that I knew starting She Is that was extremely important. It was like, okay, they're rescued, that's it. No, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Right. How'd you get out?
So when I graduated from high school, she told me, okay, you're going to get a car, you're going to get your own place, you don't need to work in the strip club anymore. So when she gave me my money back from all the years that I was working, I had nothing left. So I'm like, how am I supposed to get a car with like $600? And she was just like, well, do you think like picking you up, that was free? Do you think the food, your hair, your nails, clothing, like I needed to take care of myself too. And I was making sure that you were okay when I was taking you to work, and I was picking you up from school. So I need money also. So I was just like, wait, but I would make so much money at night, and this is all that I have. So it was just such a manipulation that I just didn't understand. And I was like, but I thought you loved me and you wanted this for me. So it just didn't really make sense.
Right. So during the years that you were stripping, was it, I mean, you kind of briefly touched on it, like, was it more of I have this affection, or I have this love from someone who's older, someone who I can look up to as a parent? Was it more of a pleasing factor for her that kept you going?
Oh yeah, 100%. It was because I didn't have anybody else there that showed me the affection that she did. So whatever she wanted to do, like, I wanted to make sure that I was giving her that.
Right.
And always available from whatever she needed from me.
Right.
So I just experienced so many things from her within those 2 years.
Right. Just curious, did the strip club know you were underage?
No, I had a fake ID.
A little off
course.
topic, but I had the thought. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, it is an industry that is going to break a few laws here and there. So okay. So what do you think, for educational purposes for viewers and things like that, like some signs that you showed, that you may have shown throughout that process of being sexually abused and basically trafficked, that were noticeable, that went unnoticed to, like, your parent or family members?
Ooh, there's a lot of signs. And I think, number one, believing your child when they're talking to you. I was a rebel. Everything that my parents told me to do, I went the opposite direction. I was very emotional. I had a lot of nightmares that I couldn't explain because I didn't really understand. So eating, not doing homework, just growing up with a learning disability also, and just had mood swings, a lot of those. So there was a lot of hints that there was something going wrong. So
did you ever have a parent or a family member ask what was happening, like, through those signs, or they just go ignored? I mean, I know your mother's single mother, which is tough in trying to support you and her, but was there a point in time where someone did notice and try to have a conversation with you about it?
Yeah, it was my uncle's mom. She knew that something was going on, and I opened up to her a little bit, but I don't remember anything else after that. But it was nice to hear somebody who wanted to listen to me. Right.
So then you got into dance as an outlet, right? And you said it. What it provided for you was basically a sense of ownership of what is yours, which is your body, and it's not going to be abused or mistreated. And just tell me how you got into dancing and what path that led you down.
So I was always a dancer, like I said, and I just continued dancing. I continued taking dance class. It was something that just made me feel like myself, where I felt confident, comfortable, and I felt safe, which was a huge factor in my life that I know that I needed. When my parents separated, I actually didn't have dance for a few years, and it was the worst time of my life because I didn't have an outlet. I was just trapped, and I think that's why stripping was kind of okay. And in that time where I didn't dance, I actually tried to commit suicide twice because I didn't understand what I was going through. I didn't understand what I was feeling. I didn't understand my body. If I was to take a shower, or if I was to go on a walk and something hit me differently, or the wind or something, now I know it's PTSD and having those trigger moments. I didn't want to feel those things anymore. And nobody was listening to me. So I tried to commit suicide twice. When I got back into dance, it was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my home now. So I've been dancing ever since, and I've had a really great career as a professional dancer. There's some things that I wish that I could have experienced more as a performer, like going on tour. But from the abuse and not feeling safe, it's like, if I went to an audition and I know that it said, okay, it's going to be tour dancers, I would have to mentally prepare myself. Okay, how would I feel if I was to go on tour and I don't know anybody? Like, it's really difficult for me.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go to that audition. And it was something that I really wanted to do. It's something that I really wanted to experience as a dancer. But even when I would do like New Year's gigs in like Las Vegas, and it would be this huge production, I would have to know who my roommate was, where I'm going to be, where I'm going to get coffee, where I'm going to get food. It's just like I have to mentally prepare and know that, okay, I'm going to be around people that I don't know. How do I feel? And it was a huge struggle, aside from like performing and dancing and being on stage.
Sure, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
You know, not wanting to be alone with strangers all over again, for sure. Now, speaking of your dance career, you've danced for some major artists. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I danced for Lady Gaga, Pitbull. I just did a Camila Cabello video. I was just on a TV show, Real Husbands of Hollywood.
Okay.
So I did a little salsa number.
Is that like with Kevin Hart?
Yes.
Okay.
And I love Kevin Hart. I thought I would meet him, but he wasn't there. But his chair was there, and I was like, oh, I love. So
Nice.
It's fun.
Nice. And are you looking to continue down that path with your dancing career?
Absolutely, yes.
Good.
100%.
Well, hopefully you can get on tour at some point in time and experience that.
Hopefully, but we'll see. I am getting older too, so I don't know about that.
I understand. All right, so let's talk about She Is Powerful. So you started in 2014, and what were your driving factors for this?
I was actually part of another organization called Women Empowered.
Okay.
So I wanted to transition out of stripping. I was in the industry for 10 years. I couldn't get out of it. It honestly felt like my home there with all the women, because I did feel safe in that
Sure.
environment. But I knew that I needed to get out of the industry. And I found this organization called Women Empowered, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go. I'm going to meet other women that, you know, have a career, that I just needed something. So I went to one of their events and I fell in love with it, and I asked if I can be a part of the board, and within a few months I was. They knew that I was a professional dancer, so I started mentoring young girls after school, and I started teaching them dance, and I fell in love with it, and I was like, oh, this is something that I want to do. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I talked to one of my really good friends, Michelle, who's actually the co-chair of She Is, and I was like, and she was a dancer too.
Okay.
So I was like, why don't we like start this organization where we teach dance to survivors? And she knew my backstory, and just focus on that, because Women Empowered was like, you know, helping others but doing different things. But I just wanted to be specific. This is
Sure.
something that I wanted to do. And then we told another friend, so 3 of us started She Is in 2014.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so you heal through dance, more or less. So just go into detail a bit of like, so let's say I was someone who was abused, and so what would the, I want to say inboarding, but you know, what would the process look like if I reached out to you or you reach out to them? Like, how does it all work?
So we partner with existing nonprofits that have already rescued the girls who already live in a home, and we just teach a workshop dance class for these girls to reconnect with their body. So we go there for like an hour class. I introduce myself, we do a little bit of a warm-up, try to get them into their bodies, and then we do a fun dance routine. And that's how we start the classes. And the more that I would go, a few of the girls started opening up to me, and they just got, oh my God, I feel so much better in my body, I can actually move. And Children of the Night was actually the first nonprofit that I worked with out in Van Nuys. And one of the girls didn't want to dance. She was just giving me a little bit of a hard time, and that's okay. I can't take it personal. I used to take it personal so much, and I would get so sad. I'm like, oh my gosh, she hates me. What am I doing? And she told me one day, she's like, you don't know what I go through and what I've experienced. I'm like, no, I know exactly what you're going through, and this is why I'm here to teach you dance, because it really healed me, and I want you to just try it and know that it will help you. It will help all that trauma move out of your body. You need to release it. And then she was like the favorite one in the class then afterwards. So I knew that I was like, okay, I'm onto something, because you don't have to be a professional dancer, but you need an outlet to express yourself, and body movement is so helpful. Just to, you don't have to dance on count. You can be really bad, but if you hear a song that you really like, you're, oh yeah, your endorphins all of a sudden just go up, and you just feel so good.
Right.
And that's what I want them to feel, and I want them to feel confident, and I want them to work together as a team with the other girls.
Right. Yeah. I can imagine, having I was thinking this as you're telling that story, but having physical abuse, in a sexual manner, right? It's almost like then you don't want to move, because you don't want to go anywhere, because you don't want to get abused, you don't want to be connected to the body necessarily, because it's traumatic. It's emotionally traumatic and physically traumatic. So, I could understand when you say reconnecting with the body. As you're explaining that, I went, oh, I get it now, right? Now you're getting control of your own body rather than having it be controlled by somebody else. And that is empowering. Absolutely.
And I think disassociation is so common for survivors that I really want them to be present. They have that fight or flight mode, and they just, like you were saying. So it's like, okay, I really want them to be present and be in their body and not separate themselves from within.
Right. Nice. So you've had over 600 girls come through your program, is that correct? Are there any stories you can share about, you just shared one, but any other stories that may stand out that you've experienced with those kids?
Absolutely. So we do a mission trip to Southeast Asia.
Oh.
And we stay there for 2 weeks. I wish we can stay there longer, but certain programs only have like a certain amount of time that we can work with the girls. So when I go there, it's me and my team, and before we do any type of dancing, I do a circle, and I ask the girls to introduce themselves and to answer 2 questions, like a fun question and like a serious question, just so they can feel comfortable and safe with me, because to dance right away, especially in a foreign country, is a little weird. Like, who is this girl coming in here to teach us dance? So I just really want the girls to know that they feel safe here. So we do that interaction with them, and then the second week going into the program, I share my story with the girls and let them know what I've been through. And all of a sudden, they're like, wait, what? You? This happened to you? But this happened to me.
Right.
And they're just like, I didn't even know that. And I'm like, well, this is why we're here, because, I'm a survivor, and dance really healed me, and this is what I want to teach you girls. So then the girls will start to open up, and we'll go over our time. So then I started doing individual, meetings with the girls, because they wanted to share their story. All the girls wanted to share a story. And I think the thing that really hurt me the most is parents are just selling their kids. They're just selling these girls because they're not worthy there. Like, women are just like a dirty cloth.
So when you mean selling, literally, taking their child and
selling them, yeah.
Telling, here, you can have her for an hour for whatever.
Yeah, or just selling them and getting money because they want a TV.
And never seeing their child again.
And
this is in Southeast Asia?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's so common.
Really?
Yeah, or one girl, her mother was really into psychic readings. So the psychic told her that her daughter wasn't worth anything and to just sell her. Because of a psychic that told her mom this, so she ended up selling her daughter, and then she was in this program. And the stories are so common. So when you see these girls, you just want to like hug them and know that they're okay and that they're safe. And you know, it's amazing that they're in this incredible program, and it's with Destiny Rescue, who's an international organization that we work with. So I just got chills too.
I know it's hard to, you know, I don't have children, but it's hard to fathom selling a child, like literally a parent just saying, I'm going to sell my child for a TV. But it happens, and it happens often. It's just insane. I mean, talk about human rights violations when you're not even at an age where you can
understand anything. They're just like, okay.
And then be whatever, a sex slave, or I mean, I can only imagine what they're done, what they do and provide after they're sold. Yeah.
And when a lot of them go to KTVs, which are karaoke bars, that's what they're called out there, the brothels. So when they always tell me that they're 18 or 21, but they're really younger, because they know that when somebody comes to see them and they ask how old they are, they'll say 18 or 21, but they're 13, 14, 15 years old. So it's like they're brainwashed to say that. And I'm like, you are safe with me. You can tell me how old you are. But they don't feel comfortable saying that.
Jeez. You know, one person I follow a lot who's in the similar is that Operation Underground Rescue. You know, and I've seen similar stories, you know, in South America, and he goes to Haiti and in all these other places, and it's just, you know, 10, 12 years old, 8 years old, you just go...
Young girls.
And boys now.
Oh, yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's not, yeah. It's hard to confront, like, it's hard to, like... And I think that's one of the reasons why it still goes on, because I don't think people actually believe it or are willing to actually sit there and have a conversation about it and go, look, this actually goes on. We need to do something about this, because this is just cruel and inhumane, you know. Ugh. Okay, I could talk about that all day. It just drives me crazy. But it's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you know, what you observed as one of the most common effects or issues that these girls that they have, having endured or what they've been through.
What are the effects?
Yeah, like what are common, I don't want to call them side effects, right? But, you know, they've endured this, right? And so what are like some of the biggest issues that they are now dealing with personally because of it?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I worded the first one really badly. So
it's fine. I just think their worthiness is a huge thing. They're not worthy of anything, so why are they even here? They struggle with that. Confidence. Going out to get a normal job, they don't know how to do that. It doesn't make sense to them. They can get into drugs. I think those are like the huge effects that happen with these girls.
So in terms of jobs, so they tend to stay on that same path?
They don't think that they're good enough to get a normal job, so sometimes when they're in this program, they will go back, because they're not like tied down and like, okay, they got rescued, they're here with this organization, they're going through these, they call them phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, where it's counseling and schooling and learning English. Sometimes their worthiness is so attached to who they are and what they've been through and to their past, that once they're out of the program, they still don't feel worthy, so they'll tend to go back to that type of job,
right?
Because they feel comfortable. And I understand, because when I was, you know, stripping, that's all I knew too.
Right.
So I understand what they're going through. So I definitely feel like they need therapy, counseling. They just really, aftercare is extremely important.
Absolutely. And how are they rescued?
They have, how they rescue, they have like a certain type of team, like OUR. They'll go and rescue the girls. So they have a whole team that will go and rescue the girls from the KTVs, where they build a relationship with these young girls and let them know if they want to get out, here's a way to get out of it.
Okay. And do you also find girls that maybe just are, I don't know the correct term, so I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but like working a corner, maybe for a quote unquote pimp?
How are they?
Yeah, are those also girls that, go through these programs, or is it typically just younger?
Oh, no, those girls too. Well, the KTVs, they're sitting outside of the brothel.
Okay.
So, and they have a guy who's, if you're driving around there, we would go through the KTVs all the time, and we would drop off little gifts to them, because it's not like I can be like, hey, come with me, I want you to get out of here, or like, let's kick this guy's ass, or
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I want to. All of my team, we all want to do that, but we just let them know that we're here for them, and even though that we're there for 2 weeks, hopefully they'll know about a program to get out of the industry. But yeah, they'll have guys there that basically represents as a pimp.
Got it. And so I have 2 questions for you. One, if someone is in an industry, obviously this is not just an international, it doesn't just go on internationally, right? It's happening locally, not even in the country, but in California and even in Los Angeles, right? And so if someone is in this industry and doesn't feel like they can get out or know how, what would be your advice to them?
My advice, and they don't know how to get out of the industry, I just share them what I've experienced and what I've been through, and know that they can get out of the industry, because I am living proof of that. And with my guidance, they can get out of the industry. And there's so many other resources out there also that can help them get out of the industry, and know that they're not alone, because I feel like we all think that it's only happened to us, when it's not true at all. There's so many young women out there, young girls, and boys too, that have experienced these things and know that you can get out of it.
Right. And so how would one reach out to you, and what are the other programs or organizations that the individual could reach out to get started getting out?
Definitely reach out to me through our website. We have like a little section where they can email us. There's Treasures, which is in the Valley also, and they help girls get out of the industry also. Saving Innocence, Children of the Night. There's a lot of resources that are out there that people don't realize.
And your website is sheispowerful.org. Okay, great. And then if I'm a parent, and I know, or I have an inkling that my child is either prostituting or is being trafficked, or working in a strip club, what is your advice to a parent in handling that child, or convincing them, or educating their child?
I definitely feel like getting them into counseling, or these organizations, Saving Innocence. Find an organization that's in your area, because they have a lot of counseling there for these young girls.
Right. Good. So then, in terms of human rights, we're talking about human right number 30, which is no one can take away your human rights. Tell me your thoughts on that, or your viewpoint, or why you think that's important.
Well, I didn't know about this until you emailed me about this. I think human rights, and I thought about this, if I was to teach my kids about human rights, it's basically teaching your child to be a good person.
Right.
So I'm surprised that that's even out there, because it's just doesn't make sense to me. Human rights just should be known. But wait, what was the question? I think I got a little sidetracked.
No worries. Why human right number 30 is important? Why is it important that we have this human right? No one can take away your human rights in relationship to, like we're talking about slavery. If you're in the industry, you're a sex slave, right? You don't have your own ownership of your own body, right? And that is a human right, right? No slavery. But distinctly, you know, the human right number 30, no one can take away your human rights. How would you relate to it?
That this is my body, my choice, so nobody should tell me what to do with my body.
Yeah.
I think that.
Yeah, absolutely. No. You know, and like you said, it's human rights is an interesting thing because you're like, yeah, duh.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I know.
You'd be shocked that how many people are not aware, one, that these exist, one, that they are put out by the United Nations, that everyone in the world has these, no matter where you live, who you work for, what country you live in, and who you're being ruled by, right? And so, you know, that they needed to state within the human rights that these rights can't be taken away from you is another eye-opening factor of, like, to me at least, like, you know, we really have to, like, tell people we have human rights, and that, by the way, you can't take these from me.
Yeah.
You know, so that one is always hits home for me. So we have a last question that we ask every guest, and that would be, what is your favorite human right and why?
All the human rights, because we should be able to do what we want.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we're all born free and equal, right? Don't discriminate. Right to democracy. You have responsibility to uphold not only your own human rights, but somebody else's human rights. And by the way, let them know, hey, you have these human rights. And I think that's what you're doing within She is Powerful, is you're letting people know, like, hey, you have the right to your body.
Yeah.
And no one can take that from you, no matter what occurred in the past. And I do want to reiterate a couple things, you know, specifically saying aftercare is so important. It is so important, you know, to take an individual out of a traumatic experience and never talk about it again, never get them to handle those emotions and whatever that they experience is just failure. Right? And so, you know, that message is extremely powerful, and I applaud you, one, for making it through, so well done, and getting out and being so successful as you are through dance, and then sharing that and helping individuals come out of a similar experience that you had, because not everyone does.
No.
So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. We were very happy and fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and keep us in the loop of things that you continue to do.
Absolutely.
And again, sheispowerful.org is where you can reach out to Isabella. So thank you for tuning in and watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Sex trafficking, sex abuse, partner violence, intimate violence is a extremely important subject. It needs to be talked about, needs to be discussed, and people need to be made aware of it. So if you have any questions, if you would like to bring up us to bring up a specific topic or be a guest on our show, you can email us at letstalkabouthumanrights@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our social media. Facebook is Youth for Human Rights California, and our Instagram and Twitter handles are at YHRCAL. Until next time, drop us a line. Thank you.